As a renter, are you really just paying someone else's mortgage off? Why don't you pay your own mortgage? What do? Do you buy or do you rent? As a disclaimer, everyone's finances are different. Everyone's goals and visions for their lives are also different. I am not a mortgage lender or a financial advisor. I recommend speaking to a professional to see what financially makes sense for your circumstances. Today, we're going to talk about the classic argument of buying versus renting and which one is best. And you've probably heard from family or friends that you have to own a house. You're just paying someone else's mortgage by renting. If you're renting, you're doing life wrong. But Elon Musk recently sold all of his properties, the last of his 5 mansions, this past December. So, what does he know that we don't? Hi, I'm Simoes, and welcome to my channel where you will learn everything you need to know when dealing with real estate. I want to explore this rent versus buy debate. As a 26-year-old, I'm at that point in my life where I'm thinking about adulthood, getting my life together, and what all that means for me. Is being a homeowner what makes you an accomplished adult? Is renting really as bad as people say it is? Are you happier being a homeowner? So let's start off by talking about renting. People always talk about the negative, so let's start there. The classic debate of you're paying someone else's mortgage off. Well, that is true. You are not building home equity by renting. The owner of the property is. So what is equity? Equity is the current market value of the home minus any liens or debts, such as a mortgage. You probably hear this all the time. Rent money is a loss. You're flushing your money down the toilet by renting, or you could have used that money as a down payment on your home. But renting is really just a transaction. You are simply paying a fee for a place to live. What you are getting in return is a roof over your head. Another fee many forget to mention is renter's insurance. I hate to break it to you, but your landlord's property insurance does not cover your personal belongings. So if a fire, a tornado, a flood, even theft, and all of your possessions are gone, that's on you. Although many places don't require renter's insurance, it is definitely in your best interest to acquire it because life happens. And you don't want to be stuck looking for a new place to live and replacing every single thing you've ever owned out of pocket. Now, this one's a biggie for me. Some apartments don't allow dogs or any pets for that matter. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I'm just gonna get one of those certificates online that deems my pet an emotional support animal. But many states are actually cracking down on this, and they are allowing landlords and property managers to require reliable verification of the tenant's need of an assistance animal and can require documents that proves you actually need that pet. Now, this one may or may not affect you, but one word: parking. Enough said. Another negative to renting is inflation. Inflation is the rate of increase in prices over a given time. We've all heard our grandparents say, when I was your age, milk cost 25 cents. I mean, mine lived on a farm and milked their own cows, but that's besides the point. We all know that the cost of living is going up, and rent is no different. Taxes go up, that lease renewal comes around the corner, and your rent has gone up. The same can be said if properties around that rental have gone up. The landlord will tend to try to match and compete with those prices as well. Another issue with renting is the fact that you can't make the space your own. Some places don't even let you paint the walls, let alone put up a shelf or change that ugly 60s bathroom floor tile that you absolutely hate. But the property isn't yours. You are just using it for a small period of time. You'll often hear people resorting to command strips or Googling apartment hacks. The lack of space also tends to be a major issue for people, especially having to share a wall or a ceiling. Why are they lifting weights at 4 a.m.? damn, is someone getting murdered? Now, those tend to be rough, but many people, a lot of people still rent. So let's talk about the benefits. Renters have no financial responsibility for major costs. Your toilet stopped working? Call your landlord. Your roof is leaking? Call the landlord. I'm sure you get it. These are all expenses that the landlord has to handle himself. It is their property, their responsibility. Now, timeliness is another issue in itself. You may or may not view it as a con. It really depends on the place. Now, tenants are legally bound to pay rent for the full lease term, typically a year, whether or not you even continue to live there. Now, there are some exceptions and it varies on the state and the circumstances, but I'm not going to get into all that. Basically, you can pick up all your stuff and move somewhere else at the end of your lease. You are not attached to this property. You can go wherever you want. Now, another benefit to renting is if you did not damage the property, like put up those shelves or anything else, you typically get your safety deposit back at the end of your lease. Now, some people who choose to rent will take that money that they could have used as a down payment on a home and invest it into the stock market to increase their stock portfolio, since you aren't investing in real estate. With the way that the housing market is going, a lot of people are finding it difficult to even find a property that they can afford. So renting is what they are choosing to do at the moment. The lack of inventory, or with their offers being outbid, renting is the way to go until the market is more in their favor. Now, let's talk about buying. Most first-time home buyers require a mortgage. A mortgage is a necessity if you can't pay the full cost of the home out of pocket. A mortgage or a mortgage loan is an agreement between you, the borrower, and the mortgage lender. This agreement gives the lender the legal right to repossess the property if you fail to meet the terms of the mortgage. Most commonly, not paying the money you borrowed plus interest. Typically, with a mortgage, you will have a fixed monthly payment, at least for a period, depending on the type of mortgage loan you've taken out. Now, there are different types of mortgages. That in itself is a whole different video. You also have the opportunity to refinance, but we'll discuss that on a later day. Now, how do you build equity? You begin to build equity when you start making your mortgage payments. A portion of that payment goes towards interest and the rest goes towards the principal of the loan. Basically, that is the portion being paid of the amount you borrowed. The amount being paid off, the principal, aside from the interest, is the amount you are building in equity. Appreciation is similar to inflation, but in this aspect, it actually benefits the homeowner. The house increases in value over a given period of time, allowing the owner to sell the property at a higher price than what they purchased it at. A homeowner also receives substantial tax breaks, which include deductions on property taxes and mortgage interest. Being a homeowner also allows you the opportunity to potentially turn that property into a rental property and allow you to make some money by renting it. There are many responsibilities that come with being a rental owner or landlord, some of which I mentioned earlier, but it is an opportunity that you do have being the owner of the property. Another benefit to being a homeowner is the increased sense of stability. You have a place of your own to go to after the end of each day. Now, this one is definitely every HGTV fan's favorite. Unlimited decorative freedom. You want to knock that wall down? Go for it. As long as it's not a load-bearing wall, because then that would compromise the structure of the building. But besides that, go for it. Change that kitchen backsplash. Turn that office into a yoga studio. You can do whatever you'd like because it's your property. Of course, with the proper permits. Now, let's talk about some cons. You can have a mortgage payment monthly that is cheaper than some rental properties, but let's not forget, there are other expenses to being a homeowner, not just your mortgage. One of those expenses is the interest in your mortgage. It is a non-recoverable cost to owning a property. Now, if you put less than 20% down when purchasing your home, you do have to pay a mortgage insurance, PMI. And until you reach that equity of above 20%, you're going to continue to pay that mortgage insurance. When in the process of buying or selling, there are closing costs, which are typically 2% of the value of the home, and there are annual property taxes. You also have homeowners insurance that you must pay for, as well as maintenance fees and anything that must be repaired on the property. That comes out of your pocket, no one else's. Another con for some people are when your money is tied up in a home, you can't just go to the bank and withdraw that money. You would have to go through the process of selling your home in order to receive any of those assets tied up in the property, which selling a house is not as fast as you might need it to be. The 5% rule is often used to compare buying versus renting. You compare the unrecoverable costs of a buyer and a renter. For renters, it's basically your monthly rent payments. For buyers, it consists of 3 things. The first is property tax, the second is maintenance repairs, and the third is the cost of equity. These 3 make up the 5% rule. Property tax is paid annually and accounts for about 1% of the value of the home. Maintenance varies from property to property, but it is safe to say on average, it accounts for about 1% of the value of the home. Last, the cost of capital, or the cost of equity. Right now, you can get a mortgage lower than 3%, but we'll just round up to 3% just to be safe. Now, here's an example. Take a house for the cost of $500,000. Now, multiply that by 5%, you get $25,000. This is the estimated unrecoverable cost of that property for a single year. Now divide that by 12 and you get $2,083. This is how much rent you can afford for a comparable rental. If you are paying more than this for your apartment, you may be financially better off buying. Now, this 5% rule also can work in the reverse. Let's take $1,666 for a monthly rental payment. Multiply that by 12, that's $19,992. Now take that and divide by 5%. That gives you about $400,000. Now, if your market only consists of homes over $400,000, then financially, it makes sense to continue to rent for a little longer, at least until the inventory improves. This is not a perfect model. It may be more and it may be less. 5% is just a healthy estimate of the unrecoverable costs. Of course, there are always accidents where it could be more, or you might go a perfect year without any maintenance, but 5% is a safe estimate. Another factor that this model doesn't directly touch, but is implied, is when you purchase a home, the equity will appreciate. It is almost like a forced savings account. And in order for renters to gain the same type of appreciation is if they invest the money that would have otherwise gone into a home into the stock market. There is no simple way of telling you if renting or buying is better for you. One of the many questions to ask yourself is, will you be moving anytime soon? Most people are not staying with their job more than 5 years. A couple years ago, a survey was done where nearly half millennials didn't even stay at a job longer than 2 years. 10 plus years ago, people were getting stable jobs, staying until retirement, and found comfort in the stability of a home because they weren't going anywhere anyway. Today, people are taking business opportunities, are putting a pause on starting a family early, packing up their stuff, and moving. As a homeowner, you are less likely to take those opportunities because it takes time to sell a house, so you can't just pack up and leave. After the pandemic and working from home, people were definitely feeling the blues inside their small studio apartments. With no backyard and the lack of space in their home made them seek out buying a property in the suburbs. New York City saw a lot of their residents fleeing to the suburbs. If you're from New Jersey, I guarantee you saw the influx of New Yorkers. The other question to ask yourself is, what are you doing with your money that you're saving by renting instead? Of course, purchasing a property is a form of investment, but more so in the long run with appreciation or as a rental property. But as a renter, investing that money into the stock market could provide extra money with a quicker return. There are multiple different ways of investing, and some may work better for others. Everyone's financial circumstances are different, and there is not just one singular path to get you to where you want to be, and you have to see what fits your life best. There are so many reasons why buying or renting is best for you. Buying a home is expensive, and unless you plan on staying there for a significant amount of time, you might not see the return on investment to justify all the costs, and renting might make more sense for you. There are also so many benefits to owning, and if you plan on living somewhere for more than 5 years, then you probably are better off buying and starting to build that equity with the purchase of a home. It does not matter which route you decide to take, as long as it makes sense with your life. Do what makes you happy. If Elon Musk can sell all of his properties so that he can move to Mars, then so can you. Whatever you decide, talk to a professional. Gain all the knowledge you can so that you can make the best decision for your circumstances. I am a firm believer in owning a home long term, but under the right circumstances and when it makes sense for you. Because let's be real, foreclosures don't happen to people who made financially smart decisions. Pay off your debt, build a safety net for a rainy day in a savings account, and build up that down payment. You don't want to be paying PMI. Have that 20%. Don't feel pressured into buying because all of your friends are buying and having kids. You have to make a smart decision for you and your circumstances, because yours are different. If you want to learn more about real estate agents and what they can do for you in this process, take a look at my last 2 videos. I'll have them linked below, and at the end you can check them out. So, what real estate questions do you have? Comment down below, hit that like button, and subscribe if you want to learn more about real estate. Follow me on Instagram to take a look at my everyday life in real estate. If you or anyone you know is looking to buy or sell in New Jersey, I am a licensed real estate agent and a realtor, and I'd love to help. Thanks for watching. Bye!